Welcome to another teaching by Dr. Ray Vinson. Ray is a friend, mentor, and solution strategist for spiritual leadership. Now here's Dr. Vinson.
Well, welcome back, dear one. Thank you for joining me for video 4, part 4 of the series we've been teaching entitled The Judgment of Jesus, the Ministry of Grace. Thank you for joining me. If you are just now seeing this particular teaching, I really want to encourage you, before watching this video, go back and watch the other 3, beginning with video 1, because it will lay it all in context for you, and it will really begin to help you understand what I'm going to finish out in this teaching regarding this beautiful, incredible ministry of grace, which we have determined to be the judgment of Jesus. God's judgments are not against his people. God's judgments are against wickedness and evil. God's judgments are never against you. God's judgments are always for you. And God's judgments are to protect you and to increase you and establish you and bless you. They're never against you. And we've discovered that God has relegated all judgment to his Son. We understand that the Son has declared in the book of John, I judge no man. I don't judge men after the flesh, Jesus said. But then we learned in our third teaching that judgment was relegated to God's holy ones, that we are to execute the judgment, not against men, not judgment or condemnation against men, but we are to minister judgment, because we discovered that God's love and his judgment are not in tension. There's not a distinction between the two. God's judgment is his love. And it is the goodness of God that leads an individual to change. It leads them to repentance. So as we move it now into our fourth teaching, we want to come back and we want to address why people refuse to participate in administering grace. We talked about it being pride. We even suggested that it could be fear. The fear of what? And we closed out the last teaching with this fear, the fear of disempowerment. No one wants to feel disempowered. No one wants to be shamed. And if you're slapped on your right cheek, that can be very shameful. It's amazing Jesus chose that analogy, because one thing that causes shame quicker than anything in a human being is to be disciplined across the face. We should never slap our children across the face. It is an insult. It produces immediate shame in them. Why? Because their face is their presence. Their face is their glory. And the moment we strike their presence or their glory, it goes deep, deep, deep into their psyche. So as we move into this, people have been shamed, and they live in shame. And so what does shame do? Shame causes disempowerment. It's a manifestation, of disempowerment. Well, the disempowerment of what? Of how others define us, think of us, or have the capacity to control us. I'm not going to give my shirt to someone who sued me for my coat. Remember, that's what Jesus said. If someone sues you for your coat, give them your shirt also. They've shamed me. I've lost the lawsuit. I've lost my goods. I've lost my coat. How dare anyone think that I would give them my shirt too? They're only going to get what they're going to get. And if they get it, it's because they're going to have to take it. See, dear one, that is the posture of disempowerment. You were created to demonstrate presence. You were created to demonstrate glory. And for a glorious one, which you are, a glorious one, never ends in the capacity to give. They never end in the capacity to do more than what is required of them by evil. So, how do we overcome this disempowerment? Well, here's the first question that we need to ask. Would you prefer to live imprisoned in your body or imprisoned in your mind? I know of a lot of people who are in prison, but they're free. I know many people who are walking around, they have liberty to move, but they're imprisoned in their mind. And this is one of the greater hurdles that we deal with in the gospel, in the church. When we start talking about Matthew chapter 5 and Galatians and some of these other books that deal with not taking your own revenge, it is un-American not to take your own revenge. Well, let me ask you, are you an American first, or are you a citizen of the kingdom first? Because remember, when someone sows wickedness and we respond with wickedness, when someone sows the absence of good, which is evil, and we respond in like, who is going to develop the world and its level of growth and development in the consciousness of God and the change in Christ in the earth? We are his body. We are his hands and feet. We are his arms that hold and love. We are his voice of compassion, the body of Christ. And we're maturing into that perfect body that we are in Jesus Christ. You see, beloved, we're free moral agents. We're free moral agents. And what does that mean? Well, it means this, that if you're a free moral agent, free moral agency requires the liberty of free choice. None of this predestination, double predestination, God chose you to go to hell, God chose somebody else to go to heaven, and you have no choice in the matter. Love demands freedom, and freedom requires choice. I'm going to say that again. Love demands freedom, and freedom requires choice. If we're required to live in free choice, then the free choice of what? The free choice of my own attitude, the free choice of my own decisions, and the free choice based upon those decisions of my actions. You see, beloved, the ministry of grace is not disempowerment. It's not laying down your free moral agency and laying down your identity and laying down your value and laying down your presence and laying down your glory. It's the very opposite of that. The ministry of grace is complete empowerment. This is where we've gotten in trouble in the church. Well, I'm just a worm. I've got to humble myself, take up my cross, follow the Lord. I've got to deny my own life and take up his life. I'm just a worm. No. That's not what it means. To deny yourself means to deny the aspect of you that is the false self, not the true self. The false self is the persona. It's the image you create in order to protect self-preservation. The person you want to be, the person you think you're supposed to be in everyone else's eyes, in order to be accepted, to be valued, to be loved by others. That is the false self. That's who you deny. And you take up your cross as Christ took up his cross. Well, Why would I need to take up my cross? If Christ was crucified for me, why is it necessary for me to take up my cross? Because, beloved, it's the cross others are giving you. It's the cross you're taking up that others are giving you. It's not that you're picking up on your own. Others have displayed this, and they have placed it on your shoulder through their actions of unkindness and their actions of hatred and malice and bitterness and resentment and envy. This is the cross you pick up in your true self and the identity of you being a glorious one in God, in you being one who carries your presence, which is a reflection of His presence. The ministry of grace is complete empowerment. Let's go back and revisit Matthew chapter 5. Once again, we read it a short time ago, beginning with verse 38. You have heard that it was said, and an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Now listen, Moses is speaking this, and Jesus is about to correct it. But I say to you, do not resist him who is evil, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn to him also your left cheek or your other cheek. This is powerful. Stay with me. This will help you. Someone said, I live by the Bible, the whole Bible. Do you? Believe every word of it, live every word of it. Do you? Okay. Do you return an eye for an eye? Do you believe in revenge? Do you turn or return a tooth for a tooth? Well, no. Well, that's the Bible. Yeah, but Jesus said, turn the other cheek. That's right. So who are you obeying? Are you a son of Moses who obeys the law, or are you a son of Abraham whose righteous son established the new covenant? Whose son are you? Think about it. There are portions of the Bible you cannot live if you're going to live as a son of Abraham under the new covenant order. Because Jesus is bringing us, as he's making these statements in Matthew chapter 5, to a higher level of consciousness in the spirit. No. Revenge is for the slave thinker, but for a son and a daughter who carries glory, glorious ones of their divine family, they do not return evil for evil. And they don't resist who is evil. Notice verse 40. And if anyone wants to sue you and takes your shirt, let him have your coat also. I think I kind of said that backwards, but you get the point. The analogy is the same. The point is the same. Why? Why would Jesus command us to do these things? Well, we know they're in the Old Covenant. Jesus is trying to show us how the kingdom works here. He's not teaching law. He's trying to give us an understanding of how the kingdom operates. And this is how it operates. You take, you can't take. What? You take from me, you can't take from me. Why? Because you cannot take from me what I willfully give you. You cannot steal from me what I'm willfully able and desiring to release and let go of, because I want to bless you. Do you see the power of this? Do you see the empowerment of this? You're not being shamed by someone taking from you. You're stepping up in your glorious position, and you're saying, you took that, you must have needed it. So I'm giving it to you. Therefore, I'm not offended. and you are not at fault. You owe me nothing. Moses says, don't steal. Jesus says, don't let anyone steal from you. Let them have what they need. And oh, by the way, give them more. This is the demonstration that no one can steal from you, because they cannot steal what you have willingly and are willing to give. You see the power of this. If anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, let him have your cloak or your coat also. And whoever shall force you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Now, why would Jesus say that? Because it was common Roman law in Jesus' day that when a Roman soldier carrying his backpack, which was pretty heavy, became exhausted, he could pull a non-citizen, non-Roman citizen off the street, regardless of what they were doing. Take his backpack off, make them put his backpack on, and carry it for him for 1 mile. Jesus said, you're a glorious one. Don't allow shame to overtake you when you're chosen, because when you're chosen, you now have the distinct opportunity to demonstrate the grace, the love of God in action, and manifest the kingdom in the midst of the person you're serving. So when they get to the end of the mile, and he's ready to take his backpack back from you because he's rested and he's walked without the weight, or he wants to put it on someone else, look at him and say, let me carry it another mile for you. That is empowerment. That is kingdom power demonstrated. Jesus says in verse 42, give to him who asks, and do not turn away from him who wants to borrow from you. Well, Ray, what happens if I really stood up and did something like this? What would happen? What would it look like? Well, first of all, you would apprehend the atmosphere around you. Why? No one expects someone to do that. You see, the more dominant state, and when I'm speaking of state, I'm talking about the state of mind. The more dominant state of mind in an atmosphere rules and controls the atmosphere. Did you know that? Studies have been done in various universities of individuals who, actually one specifically where they took 4 people, put those 4 people in a room, and spoke to a 5th person and said, go into the room, and I want you to go into the room. Don't say a word, you can't speak, but just exude joy. They were in the room for 12 minutes. At the end of 12 minutes, they were brought out. And when the other people were asked, how do you feel? They said, we feel joyful. Then they sent another person in who was angry. Exude anger. And then the same response. We're angry. They sent a person in who had been dealing with deep depression. No words said, no one communicated. But now the 4 people in the room were depressed. The dominant state rules the atmosphere. You see, dear one, the dominant state is determined by the most dominant crystallized conviction. What does that mean? It means if your conviction is greater than everyone else's, what you believe, what your conviction is in life, rules the room. The dominant state is determined by the most dominant crystallized conviction. I'm not talking about just a belief system. I'm talking about something that has been believed and is so convinced in you that nothing can change that conviction. It's that person who rules the space, who affects the atmosphere. You see, beloved, atmosphere is contagious. 69 to 70% of people in any room are followers. Did you know that? 69 to 70% of the people on this planet are followers. That's why they're easily led. That's why Jesus called them sheep. And that's why the vast majority of people are so easily influenced. If you know what you believe and you know how to talk about what you're believing, and other people in the room aren't sure what they believe, you master the room. You master the room. That is why it's so important that our faith be so bedrocked, so founded within us. You see, when the majority shift, and they will shift into agreement with the dominant state, then you've captured the room. Why? Because the vast majority of people, especially in our culture in this day and time, they don't think, they just feel. The next time you watch a news anchor interview someone, watch what they do. They don't ask them what they believe. They ask them, how do you feel about that? They've been trained because they know the vast majority of people feel and they don't think. This is why we're having such challenges with the World Economic Forum and other things. Because these people have come together and they've crystallized their convictions. And the saints are still at odds about what they believe about theology. When you hold the dominant state of mind, your atmosphere will shift. The atmosphere will shift. And when the atmosphere begins to change, and that atmosphere is constantly ministered to by the dominant state, guess what happens? The atmosphere then becomes the new environment. What am I talking about, beloved? I'm not just trying to give you a lesson in sales and psychology here. I'm trying to help you understand that Jesus is not calling you to be a doormat for somebody to walk on. Jesus was not a doormat. He went to the cross by his own volition, his own choice, knowing what the end outcome would be. And when we take up our cross, we do the same thing. We are entering into a place of empowerment where we're going to control the atmosphere. Jesus controlled the atmosphere even on the cross to the point to where he had the two thieves on either side of him in conflict about what they believed about who they were and who he was. Even to the point he had a Roman centurion look at him and say, "Surely this is the Son of God." And he did it by complete surrender. Here's the other part of this. By complete surrender to our hatred and our murder. He entered into our death because we killed him. Humanity killed him. God didn't need a sacrifice. He didn't die because God needed him to die. He died because we needed him to die. because he was too perfect for this world, and we killed him. Socrates said this decades, centuries before Jesus ever came on the scene. He said, in our Athenian culture, if we ever encountered something so beautiful and so perfect, we would destroy it. And that is exactly what the Jews and the Romans did. But Jesus didn't surrender and submit out of disempowerment. He did it because he didn't come to take sides. He came to take over. And in his death, he swallowed up death because he is life, and you can't kill life. Beloved, when the atmosphere, because of what you've done, what you have produced through your choice to overcome evil with good, shifts the atmosphere, apprehends the atmosphere, then the atmosphere becomes environment. And the environment then, the whole environment changes to your dominant state. God is looking for a people who will live by his kingdom mandate to make the whole world a garden where there are no enemies, where there are no fearful, canaverous, crazy, mad animals, where there is no danger, where there is no fear, where there is only unconditional love, full acceptance, where we feel secure and safe in our environment. You, beloved, are the garden that God is building. And with me and you and others, the garden is increasing. And the world is changing. Things really are, as bad as things look right now in 2023, things are better now on this planet than they have ever been in history. Less wars, less pestilence, less earthquakes, less hurricanes, less wars and rumors of wars, less disease, less death, less sickness. Did you know that? When you add it all up and you look at it, you see that it's true. There's 50% more green life on the planet because of fossil fuels, because carbon dioxide is food for plants. It's not destroying the environment. It's enhancing it. So when we begin to think about these things, what is the demonstration of the kingdom? It's in our empowerment of knowing who we are. We demonstrate this ministry, this judgment of Jesus, the ministry of grace. The next time you're reviled, you're disrespected, you're dishonored, you are assaulted, judge it. But judge it with grace. And watch it unleash the power of God on your behalf and arrest the environment like you can't imagine. Hope this has blessed you and helped you today. I have been so honored to be able to just sit here at my desk and just speak with you. I think I'm going to do more teaching like this, just here at my desk and just talk to you, because I just feel so comfortable here. It's like you and I having a conversation. Thank you for the honor and the privilege of sharing this word with you. Thank you for the honor and privilege of ministering to your life and allowing me to be a part of your story. I'm so honored to be able to do that. And all of you precious people who give, my gosh, I want to call your names out and say thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm not going to do that. You know who you are. It's because of you I can sit here and do what I do today and touch the world, because of your prayer and your giving, your support, your encouragement, all those beautiful things. You know who you are, who partner with us. And I'm so thankful and grateful for you. Listen, as we close, always remember, you are unique. You're incredible. You're incomparable. And you will always be passionately, passionately loved. And I love you. God bless.